Introducing Charlie, a young puppy that almost didn't live long enough to grow up. For who knows how long, Charlie was abandoned in a dog crate on the side of a highway in Little Rock, Arkansas. To make matters worse, Charlie was trapped inside, doomed to live out the rest of her days confined to a small, hot cage. The pup did not have any food or water, or even the freedom to defecate outside the crate. Poor Charlie sat in her own waste for days on end, trying to claw and bite her way free from inside of the crate. Partially obscured by the foliage and brush of rural Arkansas, the beigey-gray crate blended in with the dry grass surrounding it. No wonder it was easily overlooked by so many passers-by. It was practically camouflaged. There was no help in sight. Time and time again, cars zoomed past the abandoned crate, but nobody stopped to inspect the situation. Nobody stopped. That is until Brett Winningar and his son traveled down from the Little Rock Highway on an afternoon motorcycle ride. The two men already had some pets back home, but they still had room in their hearts for animals in need. When Brett's son Zach saw the crate as they passed, he stopped and asked his father if they could investigate. Why would this dingy crate have been left out there in the middle of January? A responsible pet owner would know how to dispose properly of a crate instead of littering so close to the dangerous highway. When they approached, Brett and Zach were shocked to find the crate occupied by a suffering little puppy. The dog had even made a hole in the crate, a valiant yet unsuccessful escape attempt. Given the damage to the crate and the strong smell coming from the dog, Brett and Zach knew that this puppy had been abandoned for some time. They said the poor dog smelled of death, and that her own excrement was caked in her paws and fur. Her ribcage was protruding, and she demonstrated strong indicators that she was malnourished to the point of starving. Zach described her as being just skin and bone. The situation was grim, and time was running out. If Charlie was going to survive, she needed immediate care. Would the father-son duo be equipped to help, or would their heartfelt efforts be too little, too late? The dog was in rough shape. She was hunched up in an odd posture, and Brett realized she was too big for her cage. Zach and Brett pried open the crate to free the animal and give her some much-needed space. With the men's help, the dog was brought out of the kennel and given the chance to stretch out to her full size. At this point, the Good Samaritans feared the dog would flee, capitalizing on its newfound freedom. But in reality, she barely moved at all. This is when father and son noticed the poor dog's paws were injured and hurting. The pup's walking was impeded by the nails that had grown so long they were growing back into the paws. To make things worse, her paws were naturally white but had been stained brown from standing so long in her own waste. Her body was covered in small bruises and abrasions from being confined in a crate that was far too small. The situation wasn't looking good at all. Brett conferred with his son and they agreed to a change of plans. Their father and son motorcycle trip suddenly became a father-son rescue mission. Could they save this creature from near death after many days exposed to the mid-January weather? They certainly had to try their best. The first step was the hardest. The duo had to get back on their bikes and speed home for supplies. They went quickly, fervently hoping the dog did not run away or go missing while they were gone. They got their truck and borrowed food and equipment from their dogs at home. It was a nerve-wracking ride back down the highway. Hopefully, the puppy was still alive and on the scene. Who knows who could have driven by and seen the pup wandering by the road? As luck would have it, Brett and Zach returned to the dog in time. She had waited near the crate, too weak and emaciated to go far. Brett and Zach approached with caution, not wanting to scare the pup or distress her any further. The pup recognized her returning saviors and let them come near. It was like she knew they were there to help. Being mindful that her mouth may still be sore from chewing at the crate and trying to free herself, the men slowly started feeding her and giving her some water. With some sustenance, the puppy gained strength enough to be transported. Eventually, she let out a low growl. He saw the growl as an indication that she had enough will to live and to hang on while they got her treatment. As Brett led her towards his truck, he suggested they call her Charlie Bravo, after the 1980s film about freeing a captive nurse in Vietnam. The name was also a playful nod to the motorcycles the men were riding when they came upon Charlie on the side of the road. The situation was still very pressing. The men tactfully had to go about helping Charlie. They had to decide what issues to deal with first. Should they help her get clean, get her properly nourished, find a veterinarian or other animal professional to examine her, or attempt to locate her owner? Fortunately for Charlie, the father and son were familiar with rescue dogs. Having a few of their own already, they decided to clean her up first and headed straight home. Brave little Charlie persevered, staying strong in the unfamiliar truck and then in Brett's house. As Brett washed Charlie in the tub, scraping off the old excrement caked in her fur, Zach made some calls and found a veterinarian willing to see her on short notice. Though the situation was dire, things were progressing well, and after getting cleaned up, Charlie grew more comfortable around the men. However, time was very much still of the essence. They wanted to ensure that the dog was healthy on the inside as well, and to put her in a position to heal from all her injuries. Back in the truck they went. They raced across town to the veterinarian to have Charlie examined. She was severely malnourished and was clearly under-socialized. The vet could estimate that Charlie had spent very little time around people or other dogs. Zach surmised that she must have lived most of her life trapped in that dreaded crate. What a nightmare that must have been. With the health crisis averted, Brett and Zach then had to decide what to do with the little Charlie. Should they leave her in the capable but unprepared hands of the veterinarian? After a brief discussion, the men realized they had already become very attached to Charlie. They wanted to take her home and keep her safe for the time being. Everyone agreed this would be the temporary solution until they could find Charlie a good forever home. Brett explained they simply did not have the money and resources to add another dog permanently to their household. That is, until an unexpected miracle happened. Brett and Zach posted a photograph of Charlie on social media, hoping to spread the word about the found dog to their community. As they nurtured Charlie back to health over the coming days, something truly beautiful happened. The Little Rock community responded to Charlie's situation with positivity and generosity, presumably taking a page from Brett and Zach's book. The community actually organized and fundraised for Charlie. They raised enough money to cover her food and vet bills, and even had extra money left over. The money was gifted to Brett and Zach to do with as they pleased. What did our heroes do with this surplus money? These amazing men donated the extra money to animal rescue charities. They took only as much money as they needed to help Charlie and poured the rest of it right back into their community. And then something extraordinary happened. Charlie in turn grew more comfortable around Brett and Zach and shook off most of her original skittishness around people. In the loving and supportive environment the family established, the puppy turned into a happy and healthy dog. By this time, she had already stolen a place in the hearts of the whole family, and they unilaterally decided to adopt her. Charlie officially became a member of the Wonderbot family. To this day, Charlie lives with Brett and Zach. She is growing into a beautiful dog that is well behaved and very well loved. She is proof that no matter how rough a life begins, with care and compassion, anyone can flourish. Charlie is known all over the United States as an example of the importance of rescuing animals, and she enriches the lives of the whole Little Rock community. What do you think about today's story? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Until next time.